So here we are pretending we're gonna walk 1 mile to school. Have you had to run the mile for gym class, for physical education class? Can you imagine doing that every day of the school week and doing it twice a day to get to school? Students used to do that back in the late 1800s and early 1900s. And they didn't mind. They enjoyed going to school. It was a privilege to go to school, and it was fun to hang out with their friends. We're standing here by the one-room schoolhouse. In 1849, the territorial legislature enacted a law that said there would be schools in all townships that had 5 families or more, and they would be free for students between ages 4 to 21. 21? One-room schoolhouses held kids from 1st grade and kindergarten up to 8th grade. What's a 21-year-old doing in 8th grade? Well, back then, a lot of kids were farm kids, and if they wanted that 8th grade education, they might end up actually missing a couple years or a couple classes because they would be on the farm working. So they would come to class whenever they could and complete the lessons that they could when they had time. So that means it might take you until you were 21 years old to get that education that you wanted. The teacher would have started the day by ringing that bell to let you know it was time to head inside for class. Here we are inside the one-room schoolhouse, and I want to point out a couple things that are a little different from what your school might look like today. So those would be your desks if you were a student in the late 1800s or the mid 1900s, and that's where you would have sat. And you would have sat there not just with your friends and your classmates, but maybe with your cousins and your siblings, because this one classroom held all students, grades 1st through 8th grade. Isn't that crazy to think about? You could have been sitting right there in the front row as a 3rd grader, and your 8th grade sibling might be sitting in the back row. So how did you guys all learn different information at different educational levels in the same classroom? Let's think about that for a second. If a teacher in a one-room country schoolhouse had to teach 1st graders and 8th graders all in the same classroom, kind of all at the same time, how would she have done that? That's a lot of different educational levels to be working with, and a lot of different chatter going on with different lessons. So she would have called the students in 1 grade up to her desk where she was sitting, and she would have taught them one lesson first, while the other students sat in their desks and worked on their assignments. So you, as maybe a 3rd grader, would come up to the teacher's desk where we're sitting right now, and you'd bring your tablet. Now, not like a tablet today, not your Chromebook, not your iPad. You would have brought this tablet, a little slate chalkboard, all your own to do your assignments on, to do your writing and to do your math assignments. And that would have been your tablet back then. And as you sat here and did your lesson, the kids would be working on their other lessons at their desks. What do you think they would do if they had a question about their assignment and the teacher was busy up here with you guys? What would those other students have to do? They probably would have to ask their neighbor sitting next to them, give them a little nudge, or ask the older kids sitting behind them who maybe did the assignment last year and say, hey, I'm not sure how to do this. Can you help me? So there was a lot of peer-to-peer learning in the one-room country schoolhouse, as the teacher could only help students kind of at 1 grade level at a time when she was teaching their lessons, and then that age group would go back to their desks and she'd bring the next age group up for another lesson.